Well, hello everyone and welcome to this live. If you are new to the live, you have to know that this is a series of lives where we're going through a course from Freecodecamp called Algorithms and Data Structures. And at the moment we are going to the ES6 module from the course. Now I will give about 2 or 3 minutes for people to join, and then we will get started from where we left off last time. I'm just waiting to see that some people have joined, and then we will get started. If you do join, say hello in the chat so I know you're here. You can say hello to each other and then get started in a bit. Well, this is pretty weird. It was showing that there are about 7 people waiting, but now the software that I use doesn't show like anybody is watching. So I'm not sure what's going on. I hope it's just not wrong. I hope the software is not wrong when people are waiting. And well, I mean, I don't see nobody joining, so what I will do, I will get started and I will check later off if anybody joined. So let me go to Freecodecamp, and where we left off last time is, oops, before I do that though, I want to change the screen. So I'm not sure what's going on because it doesn't show like anybody's watching, even though there were like 7 people waiting. So I don't know what's going on. But anyway, I will just, I guess, study on my own. Hopefully. Let me just check to see if because I'm not sure why it shows like nobody's watching. Okay. Let's check what's going on. Is he saying that people are watching? Is he saying that people are waiting, or what's going on? Because I'm not sure why it shows like nobody's watching. Yeah, I'm not sure. Okay. Anyway, if I don't see anything in, oh, it shows somebody's watching at the moment. Hello, say hello in the chat if you're there. And anyway, I will get started with the course and see if more people join in the meantime, because it was showing like 7 people waiting. So I don't know, maybe it's just my software that's wrong. So here we have, they say use the structuring assignment to extract values from objects. The structuring assignment is special syntax introduced in ES6 for neatly assigning values taken directly from an object. So they show us how in ES5, when we had an object like this, const user, and let's say the name of the user would be something like Marian, and then what am I doing? Am I doing something wrong here? Why is it showing identifier respected? What? Oh, right, here I need an equal. I was just because I was working with classes recently and I forgot about the equal, right? So anyway, then we have age, and we'll say 32, right? And before in ES5, what we needed to do if we wanted to get some values from this object, like for example the name, and put it in a variable that's called name, we would say const name equals user and then access the name, right? And then const age and then we will say equals user dot age, right? But now with this structuring in ES6 we can simply use the property names that they have in the object, and if the property names are the same as the variables that you're creating, then you would do something like that. You would put like something like of an object, but in here you would give the names of the variables, right? And what you're saying is that we're destructuring from the object these values, right? So const name and age become variables, and they are destructured from these objects from where the property name is the same name as the variable we're creating. So we're saying const name and age equals, and we say equals to user, and what that does, it puts in this variable that we're creating name and age the values that name and age have in the object. So now if I console log, let me take this off. If I console log the name and the age, what's going on here? Name is deprecated. What is name actually? I didn't know name was a reverse. Let's just say my name. Maybe there is just something wrong with my editor. So, and then when we destructure, we have to say my name because we're destructuring my name, and then here we put my name, right? So now if we're consoling log this and we're saying we're running, we get Marian because this is the value of my name, and we get 32, right? So we basically put this in new variables by using the destructuring. Here's an equivalent statement using ES6 destructuring syntax. Const name age equals user, right? Here the name and age variables will be created and assigned the values of their respective values from the user object. You can see how much cleaner this is. You can extract as many or few values from the object as you want. So here they are going to give us some code, and they're saying replace the two assignments with an equivalent destructuring assignment. It should still assign the variables today and tomorrow to the values of today and tomorrow from the high temperatures object. So if we look at the code, the way they're doing it here, they're using the object and they're accessing today. Instead of doing that, we're gonna write something like const, and then we put these properties today or tomorrow, today and tomorrow, right? Tomorrow. And what we're saying is, we're saying this equals to high temperature. We're destructuring these properties from high temperatures, right? High temperatures, right? Okay, and let's run this. Well, let's take this off because we don't need it anymore. So let's run this. To create the tomorrow variable. Did I write something wrong? Yeah, I write tomorrow wrong. It should be 1M and 2 R's. Right. Alright, let me check if there are more people watching now. Only one person watching. It is weird because maybe it's just my software wrong, because it was showing 7 people waiting. But we'll keep going for at least an hour and we'll see if more people join in. Okay, so let me go forward, right? Now here they say the structuring allows you to assign a new variable name when extracting values. So when we're extracting value from an object, we don't have to give the variables the same name as they have in the object. You can actually give it a new value as you're destructuring it, right? So I will show you here before we go to the example. If I wanted to name my name to, if I wanted to put the value of my name from the object into a variable called your name instead, we would say my name because we're destructuring this, but we're destructuring in a variable called your name, right? And then here, if I put your name, this is the variable that is actually created, and we get the same thing as here, right? We're just changing, we're just giving it a different variable name. So you see, it's the same thing. So basically, while you're destructuring a property into a variable, you can change its name to another value than whatever value the property has. You can have another name for the variable, right? So so here is the syntax, exactly what we used. You put whatever the property name is in the object, and then what you want to change it for the variable, right? So here you say they say you may read it as get the value of username and assign it to a new variable named username, and so on. Replace the two assignments with an equivalent destructuring assignment. It should still assign the variables hi today and hi tomorrow, the values of today and tomorrow from the high temperatures objects, right? So here hi today and hi tomorrow. So it's the same thing we did before, only we make something like this, const, and we're saying today we're gonna put it in hi today, and then tomorrow we're going to put it in hi tomorrow, right? And we're saying equals to high temperatures, right? So we're basically using this syntax, whatever the name of the property is, and then what is the name of the variable that we want to create, which is going to take the value of that property in the object, right? So let me take this off and let's run this. I think we missed something. High temperatures, here we need this, right? All right. So then they say you can use the same principles from the previous two lessons to destructure values from nested object using an object similar to previous examples. So I will show you before we read here what they mean. Let's say age would be, well, we have age, and then we have maybe like an object like hobbies, and let's say that this is another object which has properties hobby 1, chess, hobby 2, and we say whatever magic, and then hobby 3 tennis, right? And we want to destructure from a user from hobbies the second hobby, right? So the way we would do that, we will say const, and first we're saying hobbies because hobbies is the first level, right? And then we go in hobbies, and from there we get hobby 2, right? Hobby 2. Okay, and we're saying that this is equal to user, right? So what's going on is the same way you nest objects, that's the same way you can deconstruct. So first we deconstruct hobbies from user, and then from hobbies we deconstruct hobby 2, and at the end only this last value will be the one that's destructured. If I try to console log now hobbies, that's not actually a thing, that has not been destructured, right? So if I do that, we should get undefined. Well, hobbies is not defined because we have not defined this. We are only going into hobbies to get hobby 2, so this was not defined. If we actually want to have hobbies as well in a variable and then hobby 2 in another variable, we have this like hobbies hobby 2, so we destructure this, and then we also want to destructure hobbies on its own without destructuring nothing from it. So now that would work. I can actually put hobbies, right, console log hobbies, and that's the structure because we have the structure here, and then we can also console log hobby2, which was also the structure, right? Hobby2. Alright, and we get magic because the hobby2 is magic in there, right? So this is how they show there as well. You go into the John Doe from here, right? And then from the John Doe you get age, which you can still rename it if you want as user age, and email as user email. So here they say replace the to assignment with an equivalent, so we know what we have to do because it's something related to this. So looking at their code, they're trying to get the low and high, and they want to name them as low today and high today, right? So we need to go in today and get the high and low and name them as low today and high today. So what we're going to do is we're going to say const, and we kind of go in today, and then from today we're destructuring low as low today, and then high as high today, right? And then we're saying this is equal to local forecast, right? So let me run this. Well, let's take this off first and let's run it. Okay, let me just check to say if anybody said anything in the chat. I'm not sure what's going on, seriously. How can like 7 people were saying they're waiting and there's only 1 person watching and nobody talking? I'm just wondering if my streaming software is giving me issues, but I guess we'll see. Okay, let's go further. Oh, by the way, if you're watching and you didn't already give a like to the live, I would appreciate one, as YouTube is gonna show this content to more people, so more people can join and maybe ask questions. Okay, so here they say use destructuring assignment to assign variable from arrays. So they say ES6 makes destructuring arrays as easy as destructuring objects. One key difference between the spread operator and array destructuring is that the spread operation unpacks all the contents of an array into a comma-separated list. Consequently, you cannot pick or choose which element you want to assign to variables. Destructuring an array let us do exactly that. So, if we destructuring like this, we have an array like this, and we're saying const AB equals this. What this will do is we'll get the first 2 elements from the array and put it in the variables A and B, right? So let's test this out, what's going on here. Okay, so let's take this, copy this. So let's just say something like const numbers equals, and we're saying equals to this array, right? And then we say const AB equals numbers. So what's going on here is A and B will be the first 2 numbers from the array, right? So if I console log A and B, we get 1 and 2, right? Clear, and we get 1 and 2, right? The variable A is assigned the first value of the array, and B is assigned the second value of the array. We can also access the value at any index in an array with destructuring by using commas to reach the desired index. So basically, by using commas like this, we can skip whatever elements we don't want. So if I'm saying here const AB, and then I'm saying I leave 1 empty, so I leave the 3rd element empty, I leave the 4th element empty, I leave the 5th element empty, and then I say a C here, right? Then we will get the values 1, 2, and 6, right? So if I put here, sorry about that, If I put here a C, we should get a 6 as well, right? Let me run this, and we get 1, 2, and 6. We basically skipped, with this we skipped some of the elements, right? So here they say use the structuring assignment to swap the values of A and B so that A receives the value stored in B and B receives the value stored in A, right? So we have, this is a nice little trick that you can do with the structuring. The way you usually swap the values of two variables would be something like this. You would create a different variable which is something let store, right? For example, and you will say let store equals A, because you want to store the values of A in here, right? Then you would say A is equal to B, so you put the value of B in here, and then you will say B is equal to store, which store has kept the value of A, right? So now if we would have console log A and B, A would be 6 and B would be 8, right? But we needed like kind of another variable to store this. So the way you can do that with destructuring, you can say something like A and B, I think that's what they saying, right? A and B equals to BA, right? So this should work. Let me run this, and yeah, so basically we have swapped A and B by saying we're destructuring from B and A, and we're putting the value of B in A and the value of A in B, right? Boom. Okay. Use the structuring assignment with the rest parameter to reassign array elements. In some situations involving array destructuring, we might want to collect the rest of the elements into a separate array. The result is similar to array prototype slides as shown below. So if we have an array like this, and then we're saying const A, B, and R, right, like this, what's going to happen is the value of the first element is going to go in A, the value of the second element is going to go in B, and then the value of the rest of the elements will go in another array that's going to be called R. So we have the rest of the elements in an array, right? Variables A and B take the first and second value from the array. After that, because of the rest parameters present, so basically this rest parameters is actually arresting the rest of the elements into, is basically compress them right into an array. That's what the rest operate. The rest looks like the spread operator, but it does something different. So the way it's here, what we're saying is we have this value, and then the rest of the values, and the rest of the values will be compressed into an array or rested into an array, right? Okay. After that, because of the rest parameters presence, R gets the rest of the values in form of an array. The rest elements only works correctly as the last variable in the list. So you can only kind of rest things as the last variable. You cannot do it in the middle, right? You cannot say A and then or rest an array and then B, right? It has to be the last one. As in, you cannot use the rest parameter to catch a subarray that leaves out the last element of the original array. So here it says use the structuring assignment with the rest parameters to perform an effective array prototype slice so that R is a subarray of the original array source with the first two elements omitted, right? So what are they saying? They're saying that R is source, right? So we're saying const R equals, okay, so instead of this we are going to say const A and B, and then we're making R to be the rest of the elements with the first two elements omitted, right? So let's run this. Const declarative requires initialization values. right, so we did this, but here we have to say equals to list because we have to deconstruct from something, right? All right. Alright, there's 3 people watching. Hello there. Say hello in the chat if you'd like. And if you didn't already give a like to the live, I would appreciate one, as more people can see the live if YouTube is gonna recommend it more if you guys like the live. Alright, so let's go further. There they're saying use the structuring assignment to pass an object as a function's parameters. In some cases, you can destructure the object in a function argument itself. Consider the call below, const profile update, and then here you're passing an object to the function, right? And you would use the construction to get this inside the function. So it's saying this effectively destructure the object sent into the function. This can also be done in place. So instead of doing this inside the function, you can do it inside the parameters and get exactly the properties that you need from the object, right? So if we're saying something like const function, let's say const profile, no, let's say const log age, right? Const log age, which is a function, right? And then we're passing here an user, right, which is going to be an object, and then this needs to log the age of the user, right? Now let's say we have an user object, right? Const user equals name Marian and then age 32, right? So now this function would get an object which is a user and would log the age of the user. So the way that might work, you would say, you would deconstruct the age here. So you would say const age equals user, right? So you basically deconstruct the age in the age into this variable, and then you say console log the age, right? So now if I run this function log age with the user that we have here, we should get 32, right? Sorry about that. So we get 32. But this deconstruction that takes place here can be actually done, instead of doing it here, you can actually doing it inside the parameters. So in the parameters you can deconstruct exactly the properties you need from the object that will be taken in by the function, right? So here I'm deconstructing age directly without having to use any like const or let keyword, right? So we just deconstruct it here in age, and then we console log age, right? And you can see that that works as well. And as per deconstruction, right, as per the way you deconstruct, you can deconstruct as many properties you would like from the object here. We can deconstruct the name as well, and we can console log the age and the name, right? We get 32 and Marian, right? So this is what they show here as well. Now, when profile data is passed to the above function, the values are destructured from the function parameter for use within the function, right? So we deconstruct the values from the object here. Here, say use the structuring assignments within the argument to the function half to send only max and min inside the function, right? So here we have an object and we want to send inside the function only the max and min, so that we don't have to access them like that. So the way we destructure, we just say we destructure max and min, and then we're basically doing this, right? So we're using the max and min. Okay. All right. Now this is something very nice in JavaScript, which are template literals, and they say a new feature of ES6 is the template literal. This is a special type of string that makes creating complex strings easier. Template literals allow you to create multi-line strings and to use string interpolation features to create strings. Consider the code below. We have an object, and then we have const greeting equals hello, my name is person name. I am person age years old. And then we're saying console log greeting. So they're saying, and don't worry if I'm going fast, I'm gonna explain here on the side after we're reading what they're saying. And they're saying a lot of things happen here. Firstly, the example uses backticks. So the way you usually would write strings in JavaScript would be either using a single quotes or double quotes, and you would write something in here, or single quotes and you would write something in here. Now these template literals actually use backticks, which are like this, right? And this is where you write, and this is also valid string, but they're basically kind of dynamic because you can include expressions within the string, right, that get evaluated before the string is output or used, right? Secondly, notice that the string is multi-line, so we can do multi-line strings. Now with normal way of writing a string, you couldn't do this, and then you couldn't go like that on this on the second line. It already gives you an error, right? It say unterminated string literal because I tried to go on the second line. So I cannot actually write, I mean, I could do something like this where I would write an n, right, like this, and that means a new line, right? So if I say const word equals this, and I put an n, and then I put something else, right, and then I console log the word, right? Let me clear this, and we get this on two lines, right? But we have to basically use a new line kind of thing. But if we're using actually these ones, the backticks, we can actually write this just like this, right? We can say this, and when we console log it, it's immediately on two lines, right? Okay, so we don't need any to put here anything to symbolize a new line, right? So they say this saves inserting new line within strings. The dollar and then a variable within this kind of brackets syntax used above is a placeholder. Basically you won't have to use concatenation with the plus operator anymore. So let's see what they mean. Usually we had something like this, for example, const name equals Marian and const age equals 32. Now before, if you wanted to kind of form a sentence from this, you would do something like this: const sentence is equal to, and you will say a string, my name is, and then you would put a space, and then you will say plus name plus, and then you will say and, so you will need to put a space here, make another string with a starting with a space, and they say and my age is space plus, and then you would say age, right? And this would form the sentence, right? Console log sentence. So there will be like a lot of pluses, and remember where you have to put the spaces so you form a correct string, right? Now with backticks, with template literals, this becomes much more much easier and much nicer. So the way that works with backticks, you would say something like this: you would use the backtick and you would say my name is, and because I have an extension that's actually pretty smart, it actually tells me how I can use this. So basically you use a $, then this kind of brackets, if these are called brackets, and then you would put a variable in here, and then here instead of the string showing this, it would actually show whatever is in that variable, right? So that makes it much easier. And my age is age, right? And that's it. It's just we're just using the variables inside the string, which is pretty nice. You can actually do math in there as well. So you could say something inside the string, in 5 years I will be, and here inside this you can make like some math and say age plus 5 years old, and this will be evaluated inside here, right? And now when we console log this, we get what's going on here. Oh, I didn't console log it. Let's console log sentence, right? And then let's say, so it's saying my name is Maran and my age is 32. In 5 years I will be 37 years old. So you can see how the math is done inside the string, right? Basically you won't have to use concatenation with the plus operator anymore. To add variables to string, you just drop the variable in a template string and wrap it with $sign this and this. Similarly, you can include other expression in your string literal. For example, a plus b. This new way of creating strings gives you more flexibility to create robust strings. So then they say use template literal syntax with backticks to create an array of list element list strings. Each list element text should be one of the array elements from the failure property on the result objects. And let me make this bigger because they're saying a lot of things here. So they're saying use temporary literal syntax with backticks to create an array of list element strings. Each list element text should be one of the array elements from the failure property, so it should be from here, on the result object, and have a class attribute with the value text warning. With the value text warning, right? The main-list function should return the array of list item strings. Okay, so we can say, okay, so they say issue one of the elements from failure. Okay, so what we want to say is what are they saying here? Failure items equals I'm not sure why they are putting this here. Maybe I'm not understanding what they're saying. Oh, we basically need, I thought we needed to create a longer string, but we need to create an array of strings that are like this, right? So what we want to do is push strings within this array. So what we want to say is failure items push, and what we're gonna push, we're gonna push a template literals. Oh wait, what we first want to do is let's deconstruct the failure array from there. So we're going to say const failure equal result, right? Why are we getting an array in here? I'm not understanding why are we getting an array when this is a result, right? This is an object. Okay, let's just try to see what's going on. Let's just say const failure equals result, and then we will say failure, and we will use the method for each, and then we will say item we want to push into failure items, push, and we're going to push a string with tempered literals, which is going to be like this. It's going to be Lee, it's going to be like that, Lee class equals text warning, because all of them is going to have the class text warning, right? And then we're going to close this, and here inside we need a variable which is going to be the item, which is going to be basically every item in the array, because it's for each, right? So we're putting here item, and then we need to close the li, right? So we're pushing all these strings inside the failure items, right? So then we're returning. Now let's say what error do we get, because I am not understanding why this is array. So let's see. Okay, there's no error. I'm not understanding why that function takes an array as an argument. All right. Now let's see what they say here. Hello, Nilesh Panchal. How are you, man? Welcome to the live. Alright, while I wait for your answer, I will go further. And I say write concise object literal declaration using object property shorthand. So they say ES6 adds some nice supports for easily defining object literals. Consider the following call: const get mouse position that gets x and y and returns an object which has the property of x with the value of x and y with the value of y, right? Get mouse position is a simple function that returns an object containing two properties. ES6 provides a syntactic sugar to eliminate the redundancy of having to write x and x. You can simply write x once and it will be converted to xx or something equivalent under the hood. Here is the same function from above rewritten to use this new syntax. So we're getting const get mouse position of x and y, and then x and y is put in an object, which means that the x is going to have the value of x and y is going to have the value of y, right? Here they say use object property shorthand with object literals to create and return an object with name, age and gender properties, right? Alright, so see how here they say, okay, we're creating an object which is going to have a property of name, which is going to have the value of name, and age is going to have the value of age, and so on. Instead of doing that, we can say something like this, right? We can skip the double things and just have this, right? And let's see this with a real example here on the left. So let's say we make a function const create user, and this function gets three parameters: name, age, occupation, and returns an object which is the user, right? So we're returning, well, let's just say like this, return, and we're returning an object, and we want to say that that object is going to have a property of name, which is gonna take whatever value is passed for the variable name, right? Name, right? And then we would have age, which is gonna be whatever value age gets when the function is called, right? And then occupation, which is gonna take whatever value occupation has when the function is called, right? So now if we say console log, and this is going to return something, right? And we call the function create user, and we call it with Marian 32 and developer. We're going to get an object which is going to have the name as Marian, because that's what I passed, age 32, and occupation developer. But you can see here how we're saying the property name should have the value of the variable name, the parameter name, and so on. We don't need now anymore. We don't need that anymore. We can just say name, and it's also automatically taught as name gets name, age gets age, and occupation gets occupation. So we can just return something like this, and it's going to be the same thing, right? We still get the same thing. So let's run this, and let me see if anybody said anything else, or if somebody says something. No. Alright, I'm not sure what's going on. People were waiting for the live, but it doesn't show like too many people are watching, so we may stop after 15 minutes and see how it goes. Alright, I do think we also went through quite a few things today, so I don't want to kind of put too much information into one live, because then you might not remember it, right? So we're going to try and go steady and not get overwhelmed. Okay, alright, concise declarative functions with ES6. When defining functions within objects in ES5, we have to use the keyword function as follows. So if we create an object const person equals, and we have name Marian, and then if you want to kind of create a function like kind of a method in that object, you would have to say something like say hello, which is the name, right? And then you would have to create a function like this, and then the function will return something or do something, right? With ES6, you can remove the function keyword and colon altogether when defining functions in objects. Here's an example of this syntax. So what we would do is just remove this and this, and we would just have something like this. Say hello, which is a function and does something, right? Refactor the function set gear inside the object bicycle to use the shorthand syntax described above. So we have this like in the ES6 way of writing, and we can just remove function and this, and we just have this, right? So let's run it, and that's it for this one. Alright, then here they say use class syntax to define a constructor function. ES6 provides a new syntax to create object using the class keyword. It should be noted that the class syntax is just syntax and not a full-fledged class-based implementation of an object-oriented paradigm, unlike in languages such as Java, Python, Ruby, and so on. I don't know what's their point with saying this, because if you're just learning JavaScript, what any idea you're gonna have about this, right? In ES5, we usually define, well, maybe they're thinking if you're coming from another background, you should know that it's not the same. In ES5, we usually define a construction function and use the new keyword to instantiate an object, right? So you would have something like this. This var space shuttle equals, and then you can create a new space shuttle by passing an argument, right? The class syntax simply replaces the constructor function creation. So in ES6 to create a class we have something like this. This is how it is in ES6 to create classes. You're just saying class, you give the name, and usually and it's like you should do it like that. You should write with capital letters, so something like this, like you say there space shuttle, and then you have this, right? And then you have a constructor, and the constructors can get some parameters or not, and then the way you add attributes inside that class, you have to use this keyword, and like they say, this target planet equals, if you're passing something here, then you can put this in as well, kind of as a property on the class, right? This target planet equals to that variable that you passed, right? Target planet. So now the way you would create a new instance of this class, you would say const Zeus, and then you use the new keyword, new, and then you say new space shuttle, and you have to call it, right? And here we call it with something, right, like Jupiter. And if I would have to console, if I would console log Zeus now, clear, you can see we have a space shuttle, which is a class with the target planet of Jupiter, right? It should be noted that the class keyword declares a new function to which a constructor is added. This constructor is invoked when a new is called to create a new object. So there's some notes here. Upper camel case should be used by convention for EXC's class name, so upper camel case, as in space shuttle above. The constructor method is a specified method for creating and initializing an object created with a class. You will learn more about it in the module Object-Oriented Programming section of the JavaScript Algorithm and Data Structure certification, which is the one we are going to at the moment, but it's going to be another module from this course. So here they say use the class keyword and write a constructor to create the vegetable class. The vegetable class allows you to create a vegetable object with a property name that gets passed to the constructor. So we have to create a class vegetable. Remember, it has to start with uppercase, and we create a constructor which gets a name, right, as a parameter, and then you say this name equals name, right? And then here you see they say const carrot equals new vegetable of carrot, right? And they say console log carrot name should display carrot, right? All right, let's run this. Okay. Here they say use getters and setters to control access to an object. You can obtain values from an object and set the value of a property within an object. These are classically called getters and setters. Getters functions are meant to simply return, thank you for the like, appreciated, are meant to simply return, get the value of an object's private variable to the user without the user directly accessing the private variable. Setter functions are meant to modify or set the value of an object's private variable based on the value passed into the setter function. This change could involve calculation or even overwriting the previous value completely. So here we have a class book, we have the constructor which gets a parameter, right? And then we're setting this author with this line is equals to author. And then we have a getter created, which this is how you do a getter. Thank you very much for the like, much appreciated. So you write it with get, right? And then you put the name of the getter, which would be writer in this case, and it's called like a function, right? And it returns something because it is a getter, right? So it returns the name of the value of author in this class, right? A setter gets like a parameter and it can set a property on the class, right? So set writer, and here's the thing, because if I copy this here, now while they are written with get and set, when you would use them, so if we create a const sum book equals new book of Jules Verne, right? And then if we want to actually get the author from, like, if we don't know what the author is because we didn't do it, but we want to basically return the value, the name of the author, we would say console log some book, and we would call this getter, which is writer, right? And while this is like kind of a function, or like something like a function or like a method, you don't call it, you just say some book writer, and that returns, it gets the author name, right? So let me run this, and we get Jules Verne. Now if we want to change the name of the author, we would basically say some book, and then you see how the setter is also named writer, but you can pass something to it, right? So you would say some book writer, is it writer? Yeah, it's writer, right? Writer, and then you say what's going on, all the authors have passed from my mind. I'm just gonna say this name, right? Mihai Eminescu, which is a great poet from my country, long past, right? And now if we actually console log the some book writer, we use the getter, now we would get the new author name, right? Some book writer Mihai Eminescu. What's going on here? What did I do wrong? Some book writer Mihai Eminescu. This author, updated author. I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong here. Okay, let's see what they're saying. Cons novel equal new book anonymous, and then you console log novel writer. Alright, yeah. No, yeah, I got confused here. You don't actually call, because the way you don't call the getter, you just write the name of the getter. You don't actually call the setter as well. What you would say is some book writer equals Mihai Eminescu, right? And then you get Mihai Eminescu, which is the new name. If I console log here just some book, you can see that that's the author at the moment, right? So we get author Mihai Eminescu because we have set it here with the setter, right? Notice the syntax used to invoke the getter and setter. They do not even look like functions. Getter and setters are important because they hide internal implementation details. Note, it is convention to preset the name of a private variable with an underscore. However, the practice itself does not make a variable private, right? So even though we use this underscore, this doesn't mean that this is private, right? Now here they say, let me move this here so we can see what they say. Use the class keyword to create a thermostat class. The constructor accepts a Fahrenheit temperature, right? So we have to create a class. It's called thermostat, and the constructor would accept I'm going to copy this, would accept a temperature like this, right? And we would say this, copy this again, is equal to this, right? And then they say in the class create a getter to obtain the temperature in Celsius and a setter to set the temperature in Celsius, right? So what they want us to do is to create a getter which gets the temperature that inside the thermostat but get it in Celsius, and a setter which gets a value in Celsius and then puts it here in Fahrenheit. My pronunciation is so wrong. Alright, so let's create the getter get, and we will say Celsius, right? And this has to return this. Let me copy this. Let's see how we change it. Return 5 divided by 9. So 5 divided by 9, because this is what they have here for getting the Celsius, right? 5 divided by 9 multiplied by this Fahrenheit minus 32, right? And then we create a setter, set Celsius, right? And the way we get the F from that is we get this gets a Celsius, and we say this Fahrenheit equals Celsius, so we get Celsius multiplied by 9.0 divided by 5 plus 32, right? So hopefully we done this right. Let's check it out. When is the Fahrenheit thermostat should set the correct temperature? But should set the correct. Okay, maybe they don't want it like this. Maybe they just want it like this. What am I doing wrong here? You target the temperature inside the class in one scale, either Fahrenheit or Celsius. This is the power of a getter you're creating. Okay guys, what am I doing wrong here? Class new thermostat of 76. Okay, but what am I doing wrong? Let's move this to how it was before. Alright, now what's going on? Thermos temperature. Alright, so what they want to do is they want us actually to call this temperature, not Celsius, right? So let's change this to temperature, because this is how they use it here, right? And this to temperature. Okay, let's see this. Yeah, so I was just naming the setter and getter wrong. They wanted us to name them temperature. Alright guys, I think we will finish for today because I'm not sure, I'm sorry if more people are watching. At the moment for me it's showing that just one person is watching. I will do the next live either Tuesday or Wednesday next week, and hopefully we can go through more stuff then. Anyway, I think we went through quite a lot of stuff today, so we don't want to get overwhelmed. So I hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know if you have any questions, and do recommend it to anybody that you think might find it helpful. Alright, have a good day, night or evening wherever you are, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye for now.